first of all, we'd like to welcome everyone this morning. It's very pleasing that you were able to get out here and join us this morning for this lesson. And I think that it'll be interactive. Lots of activities are going to go on, and also it's student-centered. So you'll have a chance. You're not passive people, and so you can present all of your views and ideas as we go along. Yes? It's hopefully also a creative morning, and I'll start off by, first of all, laying out my lesson plan, and you've all done them before in different formats. With regards to CIDTT, usually you have a table, or always you have a table, and you filled it out showing everything there. I've done it as just a point by point. So first of all, we're going to have, I'll show you the lesson plan outline, and then the aims and objectives of this set of lessons. And then we're going to be going into number 3, where Deborah has produced some images as well as quotations, and you'll be asked to select one and then go on from there to present to the group. Yes? We're going on to number 4. There's a video, and we will be showing that. It has all kinds of really interesting ideas about 21st century teachers and so on. Then you'll be given a chance to use your computers and take a flash drive with a video on it, go and work on it with the group, and then you'll come back and present. You will also you'll be talking about 21st century learner characteristics and choosing which ones you think you agree with, which ones you disagree with. And then we'll be going on to doing mind mapping, in which we're comparing traditional education curriculum as opposed to 21st century curriculum. We will look at the PDP program overall and and discuss all the different aspects of what we've done over the last 5 months. There will be an evaluation, and we're actually going to ask you to evaluate team teaching, which you have seen Deborah and I do several times and over time, and you'll be asked to evaluate. You will be given a document to use that. And then we'll finish off with the PDP movie maker with regards to slides of you. You will be presented with regards and accompanied with music. Yeah.
Now I'd like to say something.
Yes.
Even though our overall theme is looking at 21st century learners and educators, keep in mind that we're also including those 4 underpinnings which we've been looking at through this whole course, which is design and planning, not only of lesson plans, but of a whole unit learning program. Then we had our practice, then we had a look at assessment, and then the 4th one is evaluation. So those 4 underpin our presentation today. And also another very important key piece of philosophy, as you well know, sometimes you are learners, sometimes you are educators, sometimes we are teachers, sometimes we are learners. We hope today that we'll see that in practice, flow back and forth. Sometimes you're going to be the experts, sometimes you're going to be the absorbers. So feel free to jump in at any time and make comments as we go. You don't have to wait till the end. All right?
Okay, you may have also noticed that I've made a list here. This is, again, the lesson plan, but in a different format. And it's available to me so that when I'm working on the computer, I can bring these up quickly. It's all been organized in advance, and you'll notice that I'm not using, or I'm not feeling that I need to use the internet in order to do this. This is all on flash drive. These are ways and means that you can use so that when internet is not dependable, you can still proceed without any problems. Yeah? And that's what we're trying to model here. Yes? So the next thing is to have the aims and objectives, which we'll start off with the aims. I hope you can see all that. Let's see, let's just bring it in order. This is what we're trying to do. First of all, and I think we will accomplish this with you, to present an interactive lesson which allows you, the students, to engage in student-centered activity. And that's what we've been trying to show you. To show through modeling, that's Deborah and myself, and you as students, a delivery approach which involves the students in CLIL. And as you know, grammar-based lessons were not common over the last 5 months. We actually had you learn language while learning and integrating being integrated with content, yes? And so you were learning the 4 skills of reading, writing, listening, and speaking while learning the content of learning how to teach, methodology, pedagogy. And again, that's modeling for your classroom. And then also learning how to also use critical analysis and so on. Also to teach through demonstration and hands-on activities, a means to carry out formative assessment. And we're trying to convey to you that formative assessment is vital to knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it, and making changes as you go. But formative assessment does not have to be this heavy weight on you. You can do it quite readily and keep going with your lesson, yeah? And yet know something about how your students are learning. And also we want you to evaluate an aspect of the lesson. So we've selected a part of the lesson, and that is team teaching. Yeah? You're not going to be evaluating everything, which would be a lot to do. Yes? Okay, also to present 21st century learner and educator ideas as a model for education to meet students' needs within your new reality of the 21st century and your world here in Kazakhstan. Yes? Now on to objectives, and as you know, objectives are the stepping stones to get to the aims that we're seeking, our goals. Yeah? First of all, to use images and quotes for the purpose of individual critical thinking. We'll be doing that. To use images and quotations to have the students express abstract ideas using English. Again, this is CLIL, yes? To use technology to present ideas for class discussion on 21st century learners and educators. To use technology for the purpose of researching materials on the topic of 21st century learners. To use technology to have groups prepare and present ideas on the same topic. To use supportive reading material to think critically and analyze with the purpose of comparing the existing culture of education with the future or with 21st century. To show the application of different learning styles by presenting ideas through mind mapping. Using the 4 skills, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, as well as critical analysis skills throughout the lesson. To show and develop through the students' involvement how to carry out formative assessment using rubrics, which we have here, based on a limited but useful set of criteria. And it will be a peer assessment rather than biased, yes? To show and develop through the students' involvement how to carry out an evaluation of an aspect of your lesson using data collection, data interpretation, and analysis and presentation of your findings, visual or verbal. This will be very useful for doing your assignment 4, as you know. And assignment 4, which you're working on now, is a culmination of everything that we're trying to pull together for you in this session. Yeah?
So if I can just jump in there with one thing regarding Module 4 evaluation. As we're going through the lesson today, if you can be thinking through the different steps that we're actually carrying out, that will help you with thinking through the different steps for Module 4. So you'll be able to think back on this lesson and actually use it for your Module 4 assignment.
Okay, just the last 3. I apologize for reading it, but I wanted to make sure you heard all of this. To show how an evaluation can be presented as meaningful feedback with applicable recommendations, but not take much of your time. Yeah? To use research materials, using internet sources, meaningful discussion, assessment of ideas for the possible application to our topic. And last, to demonstrate a variety of groupings and delivery methods to enhance learning. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot, but it's all going to come together. Let's see if we can get this octopus underway.
The other thing is, too, these are things that you have been actually using throughout this whole course. So even though it looks like a daunting list, there are aspects that you've used right throughout the whole course. And this is pulling it all together.
The first, we're going to begin with a quote. Yeah? And this is a group topic, so we would like you to read it, think about it, and if you have some points or comments you want to make, certainly this is where you begin to join in with us. Okay? Okay. believe you can read that. It's large enough. So this is an interesting comment because it says, and this is by Alvin Toffler, who is a futurist. He projected 20 years ago that our world would be changing significantly because of the internet, because of cell phones and mobiles and all of that. And so he said, we need to change the way we learn. But let's hear your comments. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So he's made different comments. What would you say about that? Does anybody have a comment that you would like to make about that quote? Or you can ask if you don't understand a part of the quotation. Is there some part you don't understand? Yeah, it's understood. Nazarki, would you like to have a comment or two? Make a comment?
This, I want to say that this is about people who is not, who is unable to write, to read, to do some tasks, maybe who is unable to do assignments, assessments, not about them, but about people who is not eager to know anything new, something new, who is not in wish to maybe relearn, to unlearn, to take out the information that they do not need in their life maybe. And this is about people who needs to be confident, who needs to be very sure, who needs to be very optimistic to learn, to open the door of education for themselves. As a great example, for example, we can say about the 21st millennium's maybe hero, Steve Jobs. Yes, he left the school. He didn't go to university or etc. But he was learning every time. He is a great example that he was in the way of a lifelong learning process. So I can give such kind of comments about this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's well said. And now I'd like to throw out a challenge. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Asiya, and then I'm going to throw out a challenge.
I want to comment about, I want to make stress about the 21st century word, because the 21st century is the century for the IT technologies, and whenever you want to study, and you should always relearn, restudy. Your knowledge should be also all the time flexible, and you should be ready for the changes.
Yes, that's also very, very good. Thank you.
Yes, in the 21st century, when everything has been discovered, we need to find, teachers need to find another interesting ways to find an approach, different approach using IT technologies, ICT technologies in order to help the students to learn more and to give up some traditional ways of teaching which are not truly helpful, and to help them relearn, to make their background knowledge come, and to differentiate it by using different approaches.
Very good, thank you.
And Mulder, I think you read my mind because you just answered the challenge I was going to put out.
Very good. What was that, Deborah?
I was going to say, once we've learned something, why is there the need sometimes to unlearn? Why is there the need to sometimes relearn?
I always found it interesting, this part here about the reading and writing, because in my day and age, of course, being able to read and write made you literate, at least if you got to a high school level of reading and writing. And yet, in fact, Alvin Toffler is saying that's just not going to be enough. You need to be able to, I think he's also talking about analyzing critically, he's talking about being able to use resources and information from all sources, and being able to come up with a better idea of it, yes? Anybody else that wants to? Thank you for those who spoke. Anything else? Okay, what we're going to do now, Deborah, would you like to lead this one?
Yes. With this in mind, I'm going to ask each group to come up and walk around or choose one of the images or the quotations, and you're going to choose it based on what image or what quotation is closest to your view of learning. And you're going to do it, the group is going to get up and walk around, but each one of you is going to take one. But if there are 2 or 3 people who like the same image or the same quotation. You do not have to put on your boxing gloves. You can be together as a pair or a group of three. But the idea is to try and find the one that's closest to your heart and closest to your mind to express your view of learning. All right? So I'm going to actually start with this group here in the back. If you would like to go up to the table, choose an image, and each one of you can choose an image or a quotation. So if you'd like to go up and choose that, and think about when you, why it's important to you or why you relate to it. So you can just go right up to the front, and you do not have to choose as a group.
Go this way.
Right
Come
up
this
there.
way.
Go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to ask, I know that a few of you are discussing in pairs, but I'm going to ask you to just give your attention up to the front. Then if you need an extra few seconds before you present, that's fine too. But please give full attention now to Golazia Jadra.
Okay, we have shown this picture. It's a bird. You can see that the bird looks really free. Yes, and I think that, and we think together that if you want to be free in this century, I mean in 21st century, like this bird, so you're going to be a very educational. I mean that you have to study hard. So because the more you study, the more stronger wings you have.
Well said.
Okay, also as Jadra said that birds looks like a freedom, and here I can add some, for example, to find a new way for the knowledge to how to be educated, maybe give up the traditional way and go to the social constructivism, maybe to new ways in education field. As freedom, if someone is freedom, fantasy is also freedom, and also it's easy to find a new way.
And one more thing to mention is that when you have so strong wings, it means that you can fly far distance.
Okay.
Yes, like an eagle.
Excellent. So we've got
I think this bird just looks like a phoenix. The bird that reborn. So it also can give kind of message like we can give up the old things, the methods, and start to build a new one.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I've said that to find a new way.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll put that up on the board there. With one.
I took this picture. This picture, for me, I think that it illustrates something like sharing opinions between peoples, integrating ideas, integrating knowledge, and so on. And also it gives me a lot of food for thought. Like, for example, here you can see another profile of person. I think it's like two sides of coin. So, for example, when a person need to solve some problems, you always have at least two decisions. So you have to think before making something. So it's something like that. So also this mechanics also gives I think I thought about this mechanics like in order to not become rusty, people need to get more knowledge, more information, and as mentioned, girls relearn and always go by step with modern life, something like that. Thank you.
That sounds like poetry.
And I think this picture gives great emphasis on collaboration.
Ah, yes. Yes, and that's very much a 21st century.
In collaboration, it's much easier to reach the goals.
I also thought, and I think perhaps Diana did say it about the technology aspect, and again, the whole world is opening up because of, the fact that the internet, we're all connected, social media, the whole business. And so that's what I thought. But I also like your idea about the rusty and staying in place and so on, and being traditional. May we have somebody from this group?
I have a tree. Why have I chosen this picture? Because the tree is, if I think about the education, I thought like mainly, broadly about the life of human being. The tree always save and take care of people who is, for example, in desert, comes to the tree and can have a rest, and then to protect himself from the sunny day or from the some problems, from the some problems. And when I just saw this tree, I just imagined the teacher as the 21st educator. Look at this picture. There are lots of trees that I could just imagine, and it's always all the time flourishing, giving the opportunity to his learners to be to direct in a good way. And it always, when it goes deeply, you can see the very good basic knowledge given to the students, and every learner can just have help or some direction from his teacher.
And we're very happy to be in the loop, and it's been an exciting time, and you've grown, and all of this that has been learned, so that's terrific. Your group?
I have citation, communication, collaboration, and creativity are skills that will help people be globally competitive in the 21st century. It's from the Education Innovative website. I think these words are so true because, generally speaking, education is the service. It's not a product, it's a service, yes, and it's all about 3 C's, these 3 C's, and teachers should develop themselves, and the good example of these 3 C's, I think, our PDP program, our professional development program, because communication, you always communicate with us, your doors are always open, you are ready to talk with us. Collaboration, you presented the team teaching, and also 2 of you and other teachers as well collaborated and designed very beautiful and very strong program. And also creativity, we can look at these walls and we can understand that creation is up to the ceiling. So I think it's so true.
Wonderful, thank you.
Here we have a citation. If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, and we are going to rob there tomorrow. So the reason why we chose this citation was that it's my like Toto, that you should all the time know your past and think of your future and live in the present. So if we talk about education, the yesterday's, I mean the past system of education actually was doing well, but the needs of that time were a little bit different. So now that needs do not meet they don't respond to the today's needs of students and of the society. So we should make our that aims and objectives of learning education system that they meet today's, so not in order not to rob their tomorrow.
Nothing to say. Well, in order to meet the requirement of students, we should meet their needs. We should do everything according to their needs. To do everything to teach for learners, not to be the same and just have a stable knowledge and I want to teach this way and no way I wouldn't change. So teachers should be flexible, ready for any changes, ready to relearn and learn and teach further.
Just one thing to it, I just want to exemplify it. For example, let us take a child, for example, small child. He's being treated by milk, mother's milk, and for example, he is already 5 years old, and you're still giving him milk. It means that his body will not grow so healthy. You can look at it in this way, I think.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I think this quotation represents one of the biggest challenges as us as teachers and all the education system itself. Like because in one of the, I think, American scientific magazine, I wrote that also one of the futurists wrote that nowadays our children, he said, in the close future, they're going to have and apply for the job which do not exist now.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
you know, it's how hard to depend to take the knowledge that they have and try to prepare them for the future, which is unknown. This is one of the biggest challenges.
Well said.
Yes, very well
And
said.
I like this book.
I decided to pick up the image of light bulb. I think this is the particular image of knowledge. As you know, knowledge is power, knowledge is energy, and knowledge is a light bulb. And for example, during our PDP program, we are obtaining all the knowledge, and we are heating our body with the knowledge, with experience that we have. And more we obtain, we grabbing or absorbing the knowledge from the our program, the more we're becoming lighter, and we're enlightening our life. And as you can see, there are rays coming up from the light bulb. I think that is the knowledge that you can give throughout your community environment in order to give them more knowledge as you can. So you can warm them with your knowledge.
Oh, that's like poetry.
More image from another image.
Okay.
I want to make a comment on this picture, because there is a famous film among Kazakh production. It's called Mенталді, and in this film the teachers want to cope with a difficult child. And in the meeting with pedagogical meeting, when they discuss this child behavior, one of the bright teachers says that the student is not a ball which can be fulfilled, but it's a torch which can be burnt. So I want to add to this.
Very good.
That's lovely.
This book also shows the portrait of a teacher, for example, which enlightens the way to the students. The bright person which shows the way.
Thank you. A beacon of light. Very good.
Yeah, because the teacher is not only about the teaching, like it also motivates and inspires the students.
Yes.
It's one of the important also roles.
I chose this picture. Well, I associate this picture with the first grade student, because when he comes up to school and he starts from the beginning, he gains up from the beginning, from the alphabet, and ends in the 11th grade, and he gains all the knowledge what is needed. And so we go up. We go up these stairs, and we climb to the top in order to achieve success. So this is my thoughts.
Very good. So you would also want somebody perhaps to be there to support the ladder as you climb to the very top. Obviously, there's also the whole idea of the rungs of the ladder. You need to go through each step and stage. You cannot just run up and stand on the top of the ladder right away. There's a bit of learning to go on, yes, and so on. And it also makes me think of the assessment tool we showed, or the evaluation with Kirkpatrick's in the pyramid form, but this is the ladder form, yes? Any other ideas?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
It also says about if you want to be more competitive, if you want to get more education, you have to climb up. You cannot take, of course you can take everything that is almost ready, always ready for you, that is easy taken, but you should climb up if you want to achieve more. As a ladder or the representative of this idea, I think.
Yes, that's very good. Nice.
It's also illustrates with the real learning, I think. So when you climb up, you have nothing to do, for example, in this case. And you, in order to learn more, you should go down and maybe climb to another level.
Okay.
Yes,
So you're revisiting the different steps. Okay.
So what you're saying is what Elvin Toffler said, the unlearning, relearning. So you actually may have to go down to a lower rung and then back up.
And then back up.
Interesting.
Okay.
And then over to...
I want to say that as you notice, the ladder is without any props, special props to hold on. It means that you need to step on it and just grab the ladder yourself. I mean, it means that you need to work hard. The system, educational system in 21st century just gives you guidelines where you have to work yourself.
Thank you, Shadar.
Yes, and about yourself, it's a ladder only for one person. Only one person, only you can develop yourself, and no one will help you, and no one could hold. Okay, teacher can facilitate you, but you are only one.
Yes, good point, very good point. And Ajar?
That was
Oh, that was because you're sitting beside each other.
And that is one of the really big shifts, isn't it? From a traditional curriculum to 21st century curriculum, the student takes the responsibility and ownership for his or her own learning. I'm really glad you mentioned that.
When you climb, for example, it's easy to climb the first ladder. But once you climb higher, it becomes more difficult. So in order to stay on the top, you have to know that it's also related to the lifelong education. You all the time have to develop yourself. So in order to stay on the top, or you will fall down, as you said.
Well, this image is getting all kinds of response.
When you reach to the top of this ladder, it's not about that you reached all the goals and aims and objectives and where do you stop. You can draw your own ladder even more upstairs and reach other goals.
Maybe it's a steps it's an objective steps to reach the aim. As you see, it's a limited. It's just steps, objective steps to reach the aim.
Yeah, good.
And you put another aim and another objective.
So it goes on forever and ever and ever.
Okay. Yes.
Amira?
I think that the height and length of the ladder depends on the personality, what goals you want to achieve in your life, and it depends on the person's ambitions.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, good point.
All right, we'll move on to another image or another quotation.
Choosing this picture. For me, this picture says there are lots of ideas that comes to my mind. The first one is imagine this is your way of learning, and imagine that this is your future. That means if you don't give up learning, we know all of us that life is not so easy thing, that we have lots of obstacles, and we do survive. So the same in the learning, you have to survive. You should not never give up, but do everything in order to go to your future. And in this way, if you overcome the obstacles, if you never give up, your future will be very bright. Another thing that, of course, that for some people, learning is not so curved as this. I mean that the way can be bright. In this way, if the person is maybe gifted or talented, it depends on his intelligence. And in this way, maybe for that person, the future cannot be seen as bright as in this picture. Another thing that in the sun there is, here we have a star. Usually a star has 5 corners, tops, and it represents maybe 5 continents. For me, it's like that. It means that if you never give up your learning, if you become more educated, and if you unlearn and relearn, it means you can become very competitive in all the 5 continents of the world. And also another thing that, imagine this is the way you are coming, but why it has changed. It means if you meet the obstacle, it means you should don't stop at that place, but maybe choose another way. So you can go like this, but you never. But it means that you never stop, and you are going toward your future.
Really great.
And I have chosen this picture because it seems to me the bridge looks like a path to education, which links past education and present education. And bridges are usually built on the deep water, and going straight on the bridge we can make some comparisons. So reach past education and present education, and also getting a deep knowledge. So that is it.
If it's okay with Deborah and the rest of you, we would keep the other comments, quotes, and images until the end of this class, and we'll proceed on to the next part. I know you have other things that you would like to say, and you will have a chance to say that, for sure. Also, I chose this video that we're going to see next. It's a very short video. And let's see what you get out of it, because there are several levels that you will see in this, I think. But I also, having heard all of your comments from these images and quotations, I feel that this video is more a summary of what you've already said rather than ideas that you're going to receive. You've done so well in expressing yourself. It's wonderful.
And perhaps when you're watching this video, you can, in your own mind, be thinking of, did we cover that same point? Are we thinking like the people in the video? Have we brought up some points that they did not in the video? So it's interesting because I think you have covered it.
What was the sense that you got from the video, first of all? What were they trying to convey in terms of the overall sense of, or feeling of the video?
In 21st century, teacher must be multilateral.
Okay. That's good. Now I'm thinking of an affective. We're in the affective domain. How did you feel, or what made you, what feeling did you get from this video?
I think that it's important to use new technologies in order to correspond to the 21st learning and the teaching. But unfortunately, in our country, not all the schools have an opportunity to use new technologies.
Yes, there's certainly that, and you got that from this video. Aisha?
I think that this video can inspire other teachers to be 21st teachers and learners as well. As you can see, we should learn, we should relearn and unlearn all the things that we have in our minds. Of course, we can say that we are 21st teachers, 21st century teachers, but we have a lot to develop, to improve, and with the use of technology, with the use of new ideas, with the use of new teaching methods, we can reach the goal that we have set.
Thank you, Ajar. Mulder, and then we'll go over to...
This video proved us one more time that the new technologies is a tool to differentiate your classroom activities. I also like the point when the teacher said that his students use their text and messages to correspond to the surveys, and also they use video recording to synthesize their knowledge about science and about bringing the math into the real world.
Thank you. Very nice. I think Almira, and then over to Goldana.
I think that this video emphasized again that all learners are different, and in order to realize differentiation in our sessions in reality, the teachers need to use differentiated types of gadgets, giving the learners choice how to express themselves in order to share their ideas about different issues. And I think it was really nice that they pointed out that there are lots of ways to realize the possibilities, like according to Howard Gardner multiple intelligence, where like visuals, audios, or interpersonal or other skills can be showed in the sessions, helping learners to find their place in the space in the world.
Very significant.
Oops, we'll go over to here and then to Guldanzia and then back over.
You asked about affected them.
Yes.
And I want to respond that this video is actually a very good example. It could inspire teachers. It could boost their confidence towards these little tips, tricks and hints. And I've learned a lot from this video, and I think we all can find something useful for our future.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a sense from the beginning of the video that it was more balanced towards technology and the use of technology, as Goldana was saying. But then there were other ideas and expressions there. Guldanzia, you want to pick that up?
Just one comment on Goldana's point of view. Maybe she said that she would disagree, but as you know, the 21st century is the century of technology, and in the videos they showed how to learn them is a way of technology. That's why it's a technology. Also, I agree in some points that use some activities, different activities, in critical thinking, but as 21st century is a way of technology, they just showed in the way of technology.
Good. Thank you. I think, Sakin, you had your hand up, and then...
I mentioned that new technology is only a tool.
Yes, for sure.
Of course it's a great tool. Nothing more. I'm not going to argue with the Dada. But I just need to say that the Minister of Education of Singapore, I forgot her name, she said a very important thing that if you don't use technology nowadays, you will start losing your students in a classroom. So, but in this video we saw that how many things we can do with technology, how many activities can be done, and it's also the problem that we have. It's our challenge. Change it, make it better, to make it more attractive, more interesting, more useful for the students.
No, I'm not telling that you have to use more technology, but you shouldn't just overuse it in your lessons. Use it, of course, you are allowed to use, you are free to use, but not like too much.
I think what both of you are saying is that technology is very important, but we don't use it just because it's technology. We're actually looking at what is it that we want our students to learn, what is it that we want to expose our students to, and it's through the conduit of technology.
Of course, it depends on the teacher, because as the situation we have nowadays in Kazakhstan, we have a lot of technology supplies, supplied with the schools supplied with the technologies, but they just fail. Why? Because we don't have the specialists, the teachers who can work with them. Of course, I agree with you.
Good.
I would like to give a comment about the video. That during this video I mentioned that the teachers paid attention not only just using technologies all the time in the sessions, but mainly they suggested in order to activate learners' learning to use such types of work like project-based learning, problem solving. So in this type of activities, I think it is not so much obligatory to use technologies. They just mentioned that technologies can be considered as one of the tools to activate learners' participation in the session, at the same time with their creativity in problem solving or project-based work.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Rosenbeck?
I just want to say that not what they want to express in this video, but how did they express this video. Now that they used a camera, maybe a few markers and the sheets to make this video. So actually they used the technology they wanted to say. The camera is very common technology. So in this even simple way we can use the technology, and it's not so difficult.
You make the presentation more extraordinary. It was very unusual for us.
Yes.
But again, it depended on their creativity. They used it.
And I'd like to just add to what Rosenbeck said. The things that looked like sheets were actually individual pieces of whiteboard. And we've talked about in different classes that we don't throw out everything about education in the past. There were some very good techniques and ideas and values that we've brought forth from the traditional curriculum forward. And isn't it interesting? I'm like Jana. Every time I see this video, I notice something different. And what struck me today was when we think of the traditional curriculum and visual aids from maybe 100 years ago, you see pictures of students writing on slates, blackboards, or green boards, and then they rub it off and they do something. This was a modern variation on that, little pieces of whiteboard in which students can work together in pairs and small groups, and when the teacher is wanting to get ideas, instead of only choosing one or two to respond, the students can flip up the whiteboard and express their ideas or their opinions all together, so everybody is included. So there's a wonderful idea from the past that's been brought forward.
So I'd like to connect my picture with this video. So.
Oh, yes, please.
So the people who's going to talk, who just talked in this video, are looking for preparing this guy. Okay, this person. So when I saw this picture first time, lots of ideas came up me. And the first idea which came up to me is, I think the people, the teachers, and the teachers of the 21st century are preparing this person. And this person is looking for, with a magnifying glass, are looking very some important thing, not a minor, insignificant thing. He's looking for very important thing. And in this case, he is using a very large tool, a very big tool, and they were talking about this tool. I think this is the use of lots of technology, lots of things in order to facilitate your learning. And also the person is very flexible. And he can do any position and any pose, everything, in order to reach his aim, in order to reach any obstacles. And in this case, and the next thing, what I would like to tell about the picture, the person who in this picture is, for him, it's not enough. It's not enough in the school, in the classroom, and he would like to search, to look for some very on the internet, on the books, and lots of things which are very necessary for the classroom, or which makes to facilitate his learning. And what I would like to tell you, there was a citation which depicts that the learners of the 21st century demands for their questions the answers as soon as possible. So I would like to change this citation like this: the 21st of the learners are looking for their needs, the tasks, the answers for their tasks as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think everybody loves that exercise. Yes.